Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Automation Nation inside Barnum. We got returning guest Derek, one of our product managers here today, and we are going to be talking about basically everything and anything Barnum does for safety. June is National Safety Month.
hmm
A lot of just a focus and awareness on workplace safety and just everything about how Barnum can kind of help out in that field and why we're a player in it, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, Obviously, when Derek was on here before, talking about just product management in general,
Yeah.
you wear a lot of hats in the product management realm, and safety just kind of is a blanket that kind of falls on the product manager role as well.
Yeah.
So I guess really what do you do in terms of being a safety product manager for
Yeah.
Barnum?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me back. Happy to be here, talk about a little bit of safety stuff. And Barnum has built our line card, with multiple vendors that have safety equipment. Even SMC, which I know you've done a podcast on before.
Hmm.
Lumberg with their safety block, but we have kind of powerhouses in the game too, between Schmerzel, Fortress, and Banner that are kind of building their that have built a line card that we can kind of sell anything in the automation world when it comes to safety.
Yeah, it really seems like safety was. I don't know, did you really want to touch it at first? But all of these suppliers of ours have really kind of gone all in on it, really created a massive portfolio on what safety can do.
Yeah.
And they all kind of complement each other. There's stuff that carries over between different suppliers, obviously, when it comes to safety, but there's a lot of things that each one does unique. And
hmm
it really helps us with our always talking about value added, giving customers either different options or just being able to mix and match and pair things and really create a whole safety system built with the best products, not just
Yeah.
whoever's name it is.
No, absolutely. Yeah. We wouldn't want a gate switch company coming out with safety solenoid valves, specifically, right? SMC does so well in that realm. So, they hired a team of safety engineers to, okay, how can we marry, pneumatics with safety and doing it that way. Same thing goes with Lumberg and their block, and all of that. But, and when it comes to Banner, where we see a lot of the light curtain portion of it, right? They're one of the biggest names in photoelectrics and lighting, so it kind of makes sense, right? Where if you have photo eyes, why not make light curtains,
Yeah,
right?
and just
And
making
and
an array of them.
yeah, and be one of the best at it,
Yep.
while doing so. So
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, a lot to go for. I mean, if people really want to get into machine safety or just even workplace safety in general, I mean, you and Joe
mhm,
have quite a knowledge base on offerings in general, not even just, what we rep, but just like what's out there
right.
that can really have that discussion.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Joe and I recently completed the B11 LMSS, which is a licensed machinery safety specialist. So we have that as part of our accreditation, where we learn about the law, of safety within the
Hmm.
automation world. What OSHA wants to see OEMs and end users doing to protect people, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that just dives into doing everything in your power as the builder of the machine, or like the end user, like I said, to identify the risks, and then how can we safeguard those as best we can, and like I said, document it
Yeah.
so that we know that if we need to lock out power, we need to open this door. What is the proper way of going about it,
Yeah.
right?
And
So
why?
yeah, right, exactly. Yep. So, and we and speaking to a lot of those different trainings, we have, Schmerzel has their Technicum team where they have the ability to come on site to customers, and from as simple as a machine walkthrough, hey, can you come in and verify, is our machine category 3, or is it category 4? Do we need to upgrade it, for our end user standards, right? So they have pieces like that, and then for individual accreditations, they can do TUV and CE certification. That's kind of a little bit more on the European realm.
Yeah.
But we see on all of our safety pieces where it's TUV certified, it's CE compliant, all those different pieces. So an individual at a company can be trained, to be certified in that. And then same thing goes for an FSE, which is a functional safety engineer. That's a lot of OEMs have somebody, one of their leads as an FSE, just so that they know that, hey, if something does go wrong, we checked all of our boxes. We had somebody that was accredited doing this, and a lot of the companies need to go through yearly checkpoints. So that's where that technicum from Schmersel, that whole division of, it's not just product, right? We're teaching people, and we're making sure that that machines are as safe as possible. So
It's nice that that's available from a supplier of ours, because that's something that our customers really expect a lot from Barnum.
Yeah.
And we give them a lot of help when it comes to products, but certifying people or training people in safety is something we would probably want to pump the brakes on.
Yeah.
And we don't want to limit our customers and say, well, that's just not something we do,
No.
so maybe you don't want to buy product from us. But having a supplier like Schmersel that has a whole team that does that is awesome. It speaks volumes that they'll just there is a realm through us, through them, that can either educate or certify you or other things like that, just in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they do a very good job in that realm, without a doubt.
I guess we've been spouting off some of the names here about what we got. This is kind of show and tell some of the stuff we got floating around on the table here.
Yeah. So we can kind of we can go from the outside of the cell in, right? So from Schmersel, they've partnered with a company called Satec, which is the perimeter guarding. So kind of that first line of defense on at a machine,
first,
right?
You got to keep it simple, idiot proof, something.
You've got a robot picking up doors. You don't want to just have somebody walk in and hope that a light curtain or a scanner is gonna stop something from falling, right? That's where that guarding comes into place, because it's easy to wander yourself into the wrong spot during a work day. And so this is like, okay, we're making sure that we are the right distance away from the hazard, all these different things. We've got a tall enough guard, all these different pieces, right? So if we have a robot on a pedestal that's reaching high in the air, we might need a higher fence. So that Satec line, and being completely modular, utilizing these fast clips and then hard bolts, all these different pieces, right? We can throw up a fence pretty quick, and still abide by all the OSHA regulations of crush resistance, all these different pieces. Like if something does fall, from a robot, or, you use robot because it's just an easy analogy, I suppose. Something falls or hits into it, it's gonna be able to take that beating and not just fall on top of somebody, right? So it meets all those standards.
Guarding is a good point to show off anyway, because Barnum is kind of really well known as the automation company, sensors and all that, and guarding just being a physical
material. It's just hardware, right? At the end of the day,
it's something to know that we also work with that, supply that, and we actually even have a team that'll help design your guarding for you. Like actually draw out your perimeters and tell you this is the exact bomb that you should be purchasing.
Yeah, and one part number too. The way that we like to do it, right? We put together. We get a drawing. We get a drawing from a customer, or even just simple dimensions. I need a square that's 25 by 30, and we can take that, and we can add doors to it. We can add all these different pieces. Provide a 2D or 3D drawing of it. Now they can drop it into their CAD and say, okay, yep, this works. Or now I need to go 3 more feet or something like that as things change. We can do that. And like I said, we're going to take all the different pieces where it could be 15 part numbers, that build up a fence between the post and the panels and the doors and door latches, because we can add in, Schmersel gate switches, Fortress gate switches into those BOMs in order to get that to the customer, right? As just one piece. You're writing a PO for one number, rather than making sure I'm not going a la carte and I might have missed something, right?
Now doing that, building that up, helping design that consultation on that, is there any cost associated?
No.
Barnum offers that, we'll help you design it. We're going to get you the parts. There's no, you got to pay us an engineering fee or something to help set this up.
Yeah. I think you can have access to the SATEC software. Customer can do it themselves, right? That does come with that comes with a fee for that for that 3D CAD add-on.
Yeah,
But we had, like you were mentioning, we've got 3 or 4 team members in our tech support that will draw these up and develop the BOM. So been trying to make it as easy as possible.
that's nice.
Yeah.
So starting on the outside in, like you said, perimeter fencing. Kind of what else we got floating here
Yeah.
melds with that.
Yeah. So obviously, if you got a perimeter fence, you got a door, you're going to want to safeguard it, right? So
Mhm.
we want to be able to lock that door. In the past, it was just a key. It might not even been locked. But everything's going to let's keep it as safe as possible. We've got a door switch that is power to unlock, right? So it's like if I lose power, I don't want somebody to just be able to walk in. What if something inside the cell didn't lose power? All those different things, right? So the Schmerzel AZM 201 has been one of our top selling door switches. Here at Barnum, it's kind of a one all do all.
Yeah, it
Has
seems like it's like kind of the staple of a door switch.
Yeah.
Standard latching and just kind of because you can configure these and do different things with them too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, so you can have a push button on there for request to enter. The gates. It's a category 4 switch, so kind of that highest level of safety on the door switch side. So it has the ability to have an internal release. So if somebody gets stuck in, I can just hit this handle, be able to go out
And
of
we
it,
still
right?
got our
A one
classic
motion.
lock on there.
Yep. This handle in particular is kind of not fully built. Looks a little bit different when it's on a fence.
Yep.
But yeah, this would come down, be able to throw the lockout tag out onto it, so somebody can't lock that door until everybody's out of the cell.
Mm-hmm.
And then same thing goes for and some of the Schmerzel ones that are a little bit smaller, the AZM 40. Looks when you're holding onto it, not a very big switch, but it
I mean,
holds
it looks
it
like a
holds a
door
lot of
hinge, basically.
yeah, holds a lot of power. And we can keep doors locked if we want to have our own specific style handles, all these different pieces, right?
Yep.
And
RFID coded, so they know exactly
Yep.
which doors open, things like that.
Exactly. Yep. Still category 4 because of that RFID built into it, right? So the multiple pieces of failure on that. So yeah, and then moving, and then the Fortress gate switch where we have the ability to build in SIP and ProfiSafe directly into it, right, directly into a switch. So we can plug in our Ethernet and power and bring it back, set the IP address. Now we have a fully functional switch that I didn't need to hardwire back to a safety controller.
Sure.
If you have a PLC that is safety rated from Siemens or Allen Bradley, whoever it might be, right?
Yep.
And being able to build in the e-stop control buttons, our request to enter, our restart, all these different pieces, on this on this Fortress switch, which is it's a big switch, but it's
a beast.
Yep, it's here to take a beating for sure.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of nice to show too when it comes to safety. There's very tech heavy safety. We're using Ethernet to control it, protocols, different things like that, just to really get more information out of it. But then there's some also very basic safety, whether it's even just opening your doors and closing and how to lock them. I mean, there's something in our portfolio that really covers.
Yeah.
Do you really just need a latch and a lock, or do you want to control every little aspect of it from, employee badges, whoever walks up to the darn door, you're tracking it. So there's a lot of options. And that's where you and Joe or our suppliers would come in and determine what actually do you need or want for your safety. Like, do you really want to be tracking every single employee, or do you just need something that's going to hold someone out? Or
absolutely.
or do you just need a light curtain to make sure someone's not reaching into the machine?
Exactly, right. That's and that's something that Joe and I do all the time, right? We don't have the ability to tell you exactly what to do and how to program it and do all these different things, right? That's a little bit on the customer, but we can make the right recommendations, right? Or do you want to keep this cell category 3 rated, or you need to go up to category 4? Okay, well, this switch that you might have been using before needs to be upgraded to something a little bit different, right? And yeah, it just the laws and regulations of safety are kind of ever changing because technology is changing. You have UR robots and AGVs, all these different pieces that are going around a automation facility, right? It's like, how do we we're just trying to make sure that people aren't going to get hurt, right?
And I guess you guys really help out too, kind of, consoling some customers that when they know, hey, we have to hit a certain safety rating, you might not have to be outputting millions of dollars for this safety
No.
system. There
Yeah.
are ways to get, those ratings in a more economical way, or,
Yeah.
if you don't need all that control or something like that, you can still meet those safety standards, protect your employees, and
Yep.
protect yourself from, lawsuits,
Yeah.
things like
Right.
that,
Yeah. At the end of the day, that's what it's all. That's what
without
it is.
maybe
Yeah.
having to completely break the bank to do
Yeah.
it.
Yep. Yeah, we're protecting people, and yeah, and like you said, we don't want to spend too much money in doing so. And I mean, and that sounds bad because like we said, we go to a little bit more of a low cost style switch. We're still getting all the like what TUV and OSHA say is category 4, in a switch that's just like this, because I know that if a single piece breaks in here, I'm going to fail into the right position, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to this, but it all kind of does the same thing at the end of the day. It's
right.
letting people know when something's broken, or
Yeah.
if they're doing it in the wrong, or something's moving and they shouldn't be going in there.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's you see the banner e-stop down there at the bottom. It's not lit up on this one, but one of the cool things that they're doing is adding indication into
Yep.
e-stops and light curtains, all these different pieces,
I
right?
see even just whole cells now, or
Yeah.
just like Banner alone has a lighting portfolio that they always say, let's integrate that with your safety system.
Yeah.
If someone machine's down, let's turn the entire cell bright red.
Yeah.
Everyone's got LEDs all over the place now.
Yeah.
We might as well utilize them in
Yeah.
the workplace.
Yeah, and if specific zones are open where you can work over here, but you can't work over here because the robot's over here, light that area green, put this area red, and we're able to do stuff like that. But that e-stop, if, hitting that button, having it flash red, it seems very simple, right? But when you have a cell that might have 15 e-stops with a conveyor, all these different
Yep.
pieces, right? Well, which one got hit? You might be going around twisting e-stops to make sure, but now when we're giving that additional indication, now we can immediately go solve that problem.
Or
right?
maybe you had to integrate some programming or a maybe more expensive system to figure out which one was open, or you're walking around and hitting every single one.
Yeah.
But not just a little visual indicator that comes pre-installed, mapped on it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and I think the world is moving to that that digitalization, like you were talking about too, which the Technicum services can do as well. They have they have software in order to kind of see the whole plant and all of its safety devices via software, which is really cool because like you said. Which door is open? Which door is having a fault? Is my door starting to sag over time? All these different pieces that are being built into safety devices. It's really impressive. We're using those RFID. I can see that I'm getting a minimal signal.
Yeah.
And I can get that feedback to my PLC where it's like, okay, hey, we got to fix this door.
Preventative maintenance
Yeah.
way ahead of time. I mean,
Yep.
downtime is a killer for production, obviously.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, when
You can monitor stuff for
a
a
door
long
looks
time.
a door looks shut, but my safety's off. What's the issue? I can look at an HMI and it can say, hey, I've got a problem at door number 3,
Yep.
and go over there and take a look. It might not be able to tell you exactly what the problem is, or it can go as high as telling you exactly what's exactly what the problem is, right? So
I know, like, we don't have it sitting out here too, but if anyone watching or listening ever wants to watch either the automation trailer episode we did or has been on our automation trailer,
we got 3
we were
whole
talking
boards,
about
yeah.
all this stuff too on the trailer. There's boards and boards on it. We were talking about like flashing lights. Schmerzl's got this really awesome new handle
Yep.
that has lights that flash and everything on it too,
Yeah.
so literally before you even grab it
Yeah.
if it's safe or not. Like,
Yeah, with a push button on it so that you can do request to enter, all these different things, right? Yeah, like you said, our automation trailer has 3 whole boards, maybe 4
That just
boards that are
is
dedicated to
safety.
safety, and then
Yeah.
the SMC obviously has their X32 valve and the VPX valve that are that are safety rated as well. And then even it goes even further, right? You have Lenza. They've got STO built into their drives. So
Yeah.
that safe torque off is something that beforehand we got to send all these signals back to the panel, figure out what to do, shut down a contactor there. Now we can just do it completely local,
Yeah.
right? We can make this as IP67 as possible, right? With safety IO blocks from Schmerzl and Lumberg, and then obviously our door switches that are going to plug directly into it.
Mm-hmm.
all of these devices, right? So, and now we don't have a controller in the panel. We have a PLC that's doing all that information. But if you have a smaller cell, doesn't have a safety PLC, we have a huge line of controllers from Schmerzel and Banner as well that we can handle any safety signal you have to to bring back
So
to
it's
it.
easy to retrofit if necessary,
Yeah,
or other things, even like I said, cut some cost or smaller cell.
yeah, for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
I mean, there's a lot, So we got kind of down back a little bit. We got perimeter. We got getting into the cells, getting into the machinery, and then now we got stuff that talks during the process and protects the processes too.
Yeah.
With Ethernet based safety
Hmm.
now throughout the whole process, you can be monitoring everything, and then with SMC, literally safety protecting the equipment
Yeah.
and the people, because I like this guy, this VPX, we did a whole podcast on this one already. Safety dump valve.
Yeah.
I mean,
Got to get
compressed air in a system, I mean, can be just incredibly dangerous. So now
absolutely.
you have, something that can exhaust all that air instantaneously,
Yeah.
protect other equipment and protect operators. So, I mean, every manufacturer is
Yeah.
making sure their stuff
Yeah.
can
'Cause like-
do some safety. I
Yeah,
mean,
like you said, when it comes to the air, if you have air trapped in a system with a cylinder, if something were to happen, right, that cylinder goes out while somebody's in the cell trying to make a fix. I mean, it can cause problems, right?
Yeah.
Or a robot turns on, right? That's
Yep.
that safe torque off. That's all those different things
Power
that
comes
we
back
need.
on, and
Yeah,
who
exactly.
knows what actually
Yeah.
happens. But in a lot of that stuff in the safety world, when it comes to even on the programming side, there are suggested and specific ways to even program, startups. So like when a cell goes down or safety is triggered,
Yeah,
it's just not going to power itself back up. There needs to be maybe some sort of manual interaction where
yeah.
somebody has to go in and say, yes, it is clear. Now I'm starting this up.
Yep.
It just doesn't magically restart because the door's closed. There's
Right.
still a button somewhere needs to be pushed.
Yeah.
Someone saying, yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
And that's the type of stuff too that you guys probably walk through the customers.
Oh yeah,
that,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
just because you put this in there doesn't mean everything is safe.
right, absolutely.
There's
Yeah.
still a process behind it.
You definitely have situations where you have what's considered a automatic reset, right? But that's not for the e-stop. When an e-stop is hit, we want to have that
Yeah, that's
reset.
human interaction
Right.
hitting that.
Exactly. Like if we're going through a light curtain to place a part in and then walking out of it, some systems do require some type of reset to make sure if they can walk past that light curtain. But if they're just able to reach in and not get their whole body access, then we can just we're going to restart the system now that we've broken the something like a
Sure.
tabletop where if I'm just reaching in, I can't get my whole body into it. Now we can just restart it. But yeah, like you said, if we're going into a cell to make any type of full-blown changes, we've got a procedure, that's mapped out. When we talked about some of the like the FSE, the functional safety, they're gonna document this. Like, okay, hey, when we need to go in, we need to shut down the main power at the panel 1st of all. We're gonna lock that out with lockout tag out. And then when we go to the door switch, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to make sure that nobody is able to close that door until everybody's out, right? Because you might only have one key back here. You don't want to have that person not realize that somebody was left in there, shut the door and have it go. And
Yeah.
but we've also guarded against the ability if that did happen, somebody forgot to put their lock on. That's where that that internal release on our switches work, where it's like, okay, I gotta get out of here. Or you can even use something like a safety scanner inside of the cell. Did somebody leave a did somebody get left in there first of all, or was a ladder left in there? Can we catch that? Make sure that we're not going to cause any damage to our equipment.
Valid.
Right. So there's so many different things that we can do. And that safety's going bigger distances. Beyond that, everybody's thinking about new ways of going about it. So.
Oh yeah, because I mean, you don't really want to, flaunt it or whatnot, but the world does seem to get a little bit more lawsuit heavy over time, and for the right reasons. And companies being neglectful, someone needs to, take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
So safety is becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger thing. I mean, it used to always you talk to your grandparents or something, and they laugh and they say, I used to just stick my arm in there while the machine was turning all the time. But we're in a different age now.
Yeah.
And I mean, we still have customers, shops, companies still running old machines like that. And there's going to be a time where they're going to have to start dipping into these processes, and they might not even slightly know where to start.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any fun little examples of something like that where you guys have not even fun? I say safety's not really fun. It's
Yeah.
pretty serious, but any examples where you guys have come in, either blown someone away with you could do this a lot easier than
Yeah.
you were thinking, or you guys just like they had an incident and you guys really
Right.
saved their butt by coming in and showing them some of the stuff we offer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're being called into stuff like that all the time. Whether it was post incident, hopefully not, and hopefully everybody was okay, or if it's just, hey, maybe new ownership took over the this
Hmm.
end user, and they're realizing, hey, stuff needs to change, right? So we get called in, and a lot of it was like you were talking about, kind of old machinery. Everything was mechanical, all these different pieces. It's like, well, this press we can put a light curtain in front of.
Yeah,
We have the ability to do all these different blanking pieces, because it's like, well, I don't want to break the light curtain every time I have to put a piece in. All right, well, if the piece stays the same, we can do all these different things with muting and all these different things where we're not shutting down safety every time we're putting a part in there, right? We're making sure it's safe while that's
yeah,
happening, but we're just improving the process, right? Where we're not, we might not have to take a key over here to over here and turn it on, but we can do it a little bit more automatically in a
sure.
way, and even we're upgrading our safety while doing that, right? Because those old devices might only be category 2 or 3. Now we're bringing in something that's category 4, and we're making our process faster.
Yeah, I
So
mean, usually when people think I've got to integrate some safety into stuff, you get, a veteran who might grumble, "Hey, it's going to take longer now. I have so many more steps. I'm not
yeah,
going to be able to get my output as fast." But there's tons of different ways around it where, like I said, it could be even making it more efficient now
100%. Yeah,
because they don't have to do certain things.
yeah, yep, and yeah, so that's. Uh, yeah, we're doing it all the time, right? So you're coming in, recommending the right devices,
Hmm.
not recommending something that is completely too much overkill, right? We're gonna make it safe, but we're not gonna go crazy on it for sure.
From your experience, I know like everyone always throws out, category 3 safety, category 4 SIL, different things like that. Just in general, from your experience in manufacturing,
Hmm.
what is kind of like the gold standard you see the average person going for with a safety, so then their operators are safe, they're
Yep.
covered without spending billions on a
Yeah.
safety system.
No, absolutely. At a minimum, it's category 3, and then that upgrading to that category 4 is just making it's obviously a cost adder, but it's making processes smoother. So I think that a lot are just defaulting to that, and going that route. But they can make exceptions for it at the
Sure.
same time, right? So it's like, if my gate switch is category 3, okay, yeah, my cell's gonna be category 3, but I'm using all these other devices internally. I've got the safe torque off. I've got all these different pieces, right? And I've got my checks and balances right at the end of the day. But you talked about the SIL ratings. That's that in the manufacturing world is very, very rare that somebody needs under like SIL level 4, right? Because the way that all kind of breaks down, that hierarchy of the SIL levels, is just how hurt somebody can get. And
Sure.
there's not very many manufacturing sites that you can't look at a press or a robot and say, yeah, that's not
Someone's
gonna
gonna
that's not gonna
survive
cause, but yeah,
that.
bodily harm,
Yeah.
to a level that could be irreversible, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
And that's where that level, it kind of stays there. But we do get into some of the other some other realms, that okay, yeah, just the worst thing that could happen could be a paper cut, and okay, our SIL level's not that much,
Yeah.
but all of our switches are built with SIL level 3 or 4,
And
kind of.
depending on how you use them, if they need to be redundant or things like
Yeah,
that, give you
and that's what that's all doing, right? We've got multiple, we got dual contacts, we've got dual outputs, we got all this redundancy built in, that where it's like, okay, I've already jumped myself into that higher
hmm.
category, because it just doesn't make sense to build a new item nowadays that's only category 1 or 2, with a single output.
I mean,
That's
at that point, what do you just
Yeah,
want to paint something yellow or red and call
right,
it safe?
exactly. Yep. So that's yeah, that's where we're living in a lot with
We all know the average human probably doesn't pay enough attention anymore to if something's just a sign like
yeah,
painted yellow
right.
isn't really a
It's not.
safety barrier anymore.
Absolutely. Yep.
We're all distracted.
Yep.
I mean, I guess too in the safety realm, like you said, everything kind of builds up over time, or it's getting more technologically advanced. I mean, a lot of our stuff here is quick connectors on them. We got cables on things. We got Ethernet coming in. I mean, we're even starting to see a lot of safety over wireless, which
Yeah.
is kind of impressive. I mean, it used to be, I think, kind of a scare for people because it was a lot of relays
Yeah.
and like, how do I wire all this stuff?
Yeah.
But now with, these blocks that we have, everything's just quick connect,
Yeah.
plug it in, play. We verify that stuff plugs in for you and is going to work and do what
Yeah.
it's supposed to do. And now it's up just to your PLC programmer to make sure things are turning on and off when they're supposed to.
Yeah, which the programmer's doing that already. Before they were just taking those outputs from a controller that's living in the panel. Which Banner and Schmerz have their their controllers that we can program. We can put logic in there.
Yep.
We want if basically if the light curtain and this door switch are open at the same time, these is going to control this safety zone. But my e-stops hit, I want all of my safety zones to shut down. All these different things where before that took a bank of safety relays and then another bank of safety relays and then and then bring it all together. We're bringing those outputs, taking it to the PLC, and the PLC knows I've received a safe output. Now we just know that we can safe input and output over Ethernet or Profinet. So
now people still are just using safety relays for stuff. We got stuff for that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
yep.
And we got companies that do relay, and I mean even just hardwired in the panel safety. I think like our U-Remote series from Weidmuller. It's got safety slices in it. We got all these different options. I mean,
the more you think about it, it's like every supplier has something.
You could literally see them go down their line card and be like, hey, they got safety. They got safety.
Safety contactors from Noark. Yeah.
It's someone's probably got, one of our suppliers probably makes like some sort of safety PPE for all we know. I mean,
well, that's Brady. Yeah, Brady has the lockouts itself.
Exactly. There we go. So we got literally Barnum's covering the whole blanket. I mean, we got floor mats, things like that. Big pull cord safety stops for big long runs of conveyor, things like that. I mean,
long runs of conveyor or inside of a cell somebody falls into. Okay, I don't want to have it. I can't have an e-stop every 2 feet if I want somebody to get out, but I can pull a rope pull and turn that off. That's an application I actually worked on recently. It's like, okay, we physically can't stop, can't close off this gate. We've got parts going in and out, but it is a trip hazard. It's all these different things, right? Well, it's like, okay, let's make sure that, we're putting a floor mat right here because a very dirty environment, light curtains wouldn't work, all these different things, right? So it's like, okay, I'm safe if I'm on this mat, but if somebody were to fall in, we've got rope pulls in there. Now we can grab them, shut down the machine, so that the pieces that are flying through aren't gonna hit somebody. So
yeah, I feel like maybe, I don't know, in the past safety was probably a bear to try to sell to people because there's just so much to it.
Yeah.
But I think with you guys in the product manager group, the trainings that's offered, it is just like anything else now. You know, we can really educate our customers on it. Our salesmen know the right questions to ask, can show off the product. Obviously, there's demos all over the place for people to see and play with too, before they just buy something, throw it on, and say, guess what? I got category 4 safety now.
Yeah, right.
You actually try stuff out, see if it's going to work for you. I mean, gosh, there's a lot we could talk about this stuff, but I think majority of this is really, as the workplace changes and as people need more safety stuff, I mean, our team here has really got a lot of options,
100%.
and our suppliers have a lot of options.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, going back,
you guys as our outside applications team, is huge too on help getting these, especially all these Ethernet controlled, products, get them up and running, for a customer, sending those files, all those different things. And then, then the hardware kind of speaks for itself. We've got,
I mean, that's something we pride ourselves anyway, make it ease of use. We don't want someone to buy something and then be annoyed on how it works or programs or installs. We got a bunch of different realms of people here that are going to hold your hand if necessary to get it up and running.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, just kind of backpedaling real quick too, I meant to ask, with Schmerzel, you saying how they can do some like the trainings and the certifications. Do they even do like standard operator trainings? Let's say a company says, we got a whole new bank of operators that need to learn our safety systems. Do they do that style too, or is that usually intercompany type of thing?
It can be both, because the Technicum team obviously can give you certifications, but they can tailor a training to whatever it might be. What is safety? What are these devices, right?
Yeah, because I feel like
And
that's a learning curve for some people, especially when you're not as you're in not the very skilled labor side where it's just you're an operator that may not know how any of this functions.
why do I need it? Why is this
Exactly. Like,
why is this burdening me?
yeah.
Right? It's here to protect you, but it's a burden, but understanding what it's doing
Hmm.
and how that's going through. Yeah. Even Barnum, even the Barnum team can can give little informational sessions regarding stuff like that,
Yes,
right?
lunch and learn style.
Yeah.
Here's how this stuff actually works. So
Yep.
when you get out there and actually have to use it, you're not having to call management
Yeah.
because you don't know how to clear a light curtain or something like that.
Right. Right.
The basics.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, big one for me. That's a big one for maintenance too, right?
Yeah.
How do I fix this? What is this error code
Yeah,
mean?
flashing red lights and error
Right.
codes, and yeah,
Yep.
wire got crossed or something. But
Yep.
anything recently new coming out, or anything that you just find personally really cool with some of the safety stuff? Like, is there anything that's just like this thing is sweet, like, or is it all just kind of all just kind of fits under the same blanket?
Yeah, I mean it all fits. Yeah, the new stuff with SMC, what they're doing is awesome, right? Because it's not technically one of my product lines on the product manager, responsibilities, but it's just an added piece where we know what we're doing, what I'm doing on the outside with
Hmm.
Banner, Schmerzel, Fortress, and that those signals are being taken care of, downstream,
Yeah, they're
right?
integrating it right into where the motion happens.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, like, just we didn't talk too much about this guy alone, but I mean, that's a valve
Yep.
that's got redundant safety right on it. Like,
Yep.
this valve
Spool,
cannot fire.
spool detection, all these different knows exactly what position it's in.
Hmm. I
You know,
think too, like you can't even manually override. Like, there's a button on here, and I think you still have to have
yeah,
your power signal to this
Yep.
to even. I mean, because that's something people I hear a lot is, yeah, I can just go over with my screwdriver and fire a valve
Yeah.
whenever I want,
Right.
even when a cell's shut
not
down.
if we dumped it.
But yeah, if we got a dump valve there, there's no
Right.
air,
Yeah.
and something like this where you actually have a safety signal come into it. No, you can't anymore.
Yep. Yeah.
But
Yeah, and you mentioned the door handles for the the AZM 40 is not new, but the door handles for it. What Fortress is doing with the AmGuard, with the RFID keys,
yeah,
with
RFID
the
keys is
with the
cool.
badge reader, all
Mhm.
these different things, right? Where beforehand with keys, if you wanted some sort of trap key system, if that key gets lost or broken, you might have to wait for a new one to come.
Yeah.
What are we doing in the meantime of that, right? With the RFID keys, one gets lost, I can have a pile of them, put a new one in, reteach it very quick, and get
And you can
that
set
cell back and
different
running.
access levels on those
Yeah.
keys then too, right?
And
Like,
as soon as I put a new key in, that old one no longer works. So even if we found it, now we don't have multiple
sure,
keys,
you don't have
right?
a rogue
So
key roaming around that someone can come
exactly.
in and get
Yep.
in. Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously, the Lumberg safety IO block for ProfiSafe and SipSafe, along
Yeah.
with the Schmerzel, ProfiSafe and SipSafety as well. We've got the ability to do a bunch of safety outputs on the Schmerzel version,
Yeah,
which
'cause
is
you got
unique.
8-pin ports
You
on
got
those.
8-pin ports on it, but each one of them can have dual safety outputs. So we can have up to 16 outputs where I just want to tell all my devices,
Mhm.
their outputs, right? And not even plug input devices into it because maybe they're already SIP safe on their own, right?
Yep.
But I just need to tell I need to tell the robot, I need to tell the drive that, hey, to shut down. They're going to take those outputs, right? So kind of a cool application that we're using those for is just all outputs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, it's safety month, June, and I'm sure
You're gonna see a lot of product updates from us on on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
A lot of different things we're gonna be throwing out there. So
Mm-hmm. And I guess if anybody, wants, if there's, obviously we just glassed over all this. We ran through stuff really fast. If anybody wants more information on something, like we've said many times, reach out to the Barnum representative. We're going to get you more information on it, help you out. If you already have something like this and maybe you're like, well, I didn't know it had that feature,
yeah,
obviously we got people who can help us out with that, get you more, or, just in general, now, too, if, your team wants some education from us even,
Mhm.
we can come in and make it seem if some of the new safety products are right for you, or if maybe even come analyze what you got now and you're missing something.
Yeah.
But Derek, thanks for
Yeah, no
thanks for
problem.
another good podcast here. We got a lot of information out.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we
Got a
don't
big
overwhelm anybody.
Right.
if
Yeah, we
they're
got
listening.
a table full of stuff. We kind of we touched on all of it, but yeah, there's so much more to each piece. But
Mhm.
it also can be just that simple at the same time, right? We can make it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
So
Now this stuff too, just in general, like I would assume there's a safety tab on our website somewhere where kind of it's easy for people to browse
yeah,
through and kind of get some general information on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
All right. Well, thanks again,
No,
man.
yeah, no problem.
And we'll catch y'all on another episode of Automation Nation in the future. But this was a good one.
Yeah, awesome.
It was a safe one. See you guys later. Thank
Thanks.
you.